Oh.
Good morning.
Oops, sorry, my mic was off. I said good morning and hi Roshana, welcome back. Hi Anuradha, welcome. Thank you for
Morning.
morning. Thanks for joining.
Good
We
morning.
Good morning. We will start shortly. I'm just waiting on a few of our colleagues from the ministry, and then we'll start. Anuradha, where are you joining from? Or what organization?
Main computer.
I'm from the Energy Authority of Suriname.
Okay,
Hebben ze
very good.
vragen of zo?
Very good.
Ik hiermee
Thank
install.
you.
Ik wil ze je horen.
Hello, Brittany and Radha. Can you guys hear me?
Hi, Roshana. Roshana, yes, I can hear you now.
Ah, great. Okay. Yeah,
Yes.
so Faye's in another meeting, so she won't attend this meeting.
Okay.
But yeah.
Okay, good. Thanks for letting me know. I
Yes.
am I will check with the colleagues on the ministry right now to see if they're coming on, and then we'll start. We'll go
Great.
back to the exercise. Thank you so much.
Okay. Yes.
Good morning, colleagues.
Good morning.
Morning, Brittany.
Okay. German, Fiona, are we okay to start now? Will anyone else should we be waiting for anyone else from the energy participants?
Let me check very quick.
Okay.
I see some people from the energy sector, but I thought the waste sector was also supposed to be in the meeting.
No, not for this meet. Not for this. The
Oh,
first
okay.
hour was for energy.
Oh,
Right.
Yeah.
yeah, I see. Okay, no. Then I think we're expecting more people because the last meeting we had more people also.
Yeah. Arshana mentioned that Faye from EBS won't be joining today. So it'll be her, and then we have Anuradha from the energy department, you said, Anuradha, energy division.
The Energy Authority.
Energy authority, excuse me. Thank you. Okay. Okay. Well, let me. So last week we were looking at the energy sector, and we went into the IPCC software. We had an introduction into how to create a username, etc. in the software, and we had just started putting in data from Suriname into the IPCC software from national data from 2018. So let me share my screen. And just to confirm, this everyone was here. Anuradha, you were also here last week for the start of the session, right? For energy.
Yes, but unfortunately, I couldn't be there for the whole workshop because I had another meeting.
Okay. Okay, I think that's what I recall. Okay, good. Very good. Just confirming that you can see my screen.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. So last week we ended here. This is where we ended. We ended more or less here. Well, we were actually in the IPCC software, and we were about to put in this data for EBS. For this was for electricity production in the IPCC software. So just to confirm, everyone has the software open at the same place that we were last week?
Not yet.
Not
Give me a
yet. Okay.
second.
And I think last week we were also, the question was, what was the unit of of these values? And I think either between you, Roshana, or Faye had mentioned that this data was um,
Liters.
in liters. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And the LPG was in kg.
And LPG was in kg.
Yes. So do we
So-
need to converse the data first before we import the data into the software?
Yes. So I had, and let me show you why.
Yeah, I know, because the units are not matching, right?
Yeah, the units in the software only allow in terajoules or in gigagrams, and
Uh,
because these units are in volume already,
yeah,
uh, it may be easier to convert to a mass volume,
yes,
mass unit, because to convert it to terajoules, you need to um, include the energy conversion factor for each fuel. But if you have that, that's fine too. You probably do from EBS, but
yeah.
um, let's okay. So let's convert this. So I had here that was in tons, but it's actually in liters. So
Yeah.
let's convert liters to gigagrams. So I'll put in the first 10, 3, 4, 2062.81. Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, this is what you're seeing on my screen. Can you see this conversion?
Yes.
Okay, so in an ideal way, we would need to verify these conversions. I know from um, as the electricity company in Suriname and perhaps the energy unit, you might have standard conversions that you use, but it would be important to use whatever those standard conversions are. But uh, this is this is like an approximate conversion from liters to gigagrams. So it should be and it should be correct. So one liter is 1 to the um, -6 power gigagram. So let's copy and paste this value here, right? I'll also put this in the chat. And this is for 2018 for gigagrams of diesel. Okay, so let's put this in. Now I'll go to the software. You can see the software screen now on my page on my screen.
Yes.
Okay. Does everyone remember how we got here from last week? If you were
Yeah.
more or less, right? So we have been signed in. The country, territory is Suriname. The inventory year is 2018, and we had already created that inventory year. And then we went to the energy tab, data section on the side. And for this, we're looking at electricity generation. So let's add the different fuels, the different fuels that were used for power generation. So let's just delete this one. Let's start over. So fuel is diesel oil,
Yeah.
correct? Consumption, let's put it in gigagrams. And we had that converted already. So that's 10.3421. And you see here, because in the software, the software already pulls what the conversion factor is. So this, right. So this is the conversion factor for diesel. So this would be this would be saying how many terajoules of energy would you get from this amount of diesel, and so this will give you 444 terajoules. So that's one. Let's do the other one. Let me put it back up. Since we're already in 2018, let's add 2018. For HFO, so a quick conversion. You said this is also in
liters.
liters, right?
Option.
There we go. So you have 68.48. This is for HFO. Put it in the chat. And let's put it back into the software. Let's find the fuel. Heavy fuel oil. Okay. Not LPG. Okay. HFO. HFO in this heavy fuel oil in this case would be considered as crude oil. Would you consider this as crude oil, Roshana from Energy? When looking at the classification and the IPCC guidelines, um, heavy fuel oil would usually be classified under crude, unless
Yeah, I think so, because I don't see HFO as another option there. So maybe we can put it as crude oil.
yeah, okay. So this is the case where this is the case usually, and like for example, like for example here the names that the IPCC guidance has for the different fuels, we just need to check that they are the same. Like for example, I know that gas/diesel oil is diesel and not gasoline, um, and crude oil would be HFO. So let's put in gigagrams, which was it? 68.4817. And you have a higher conversion factor. Okay, save and good to go. Has everyone, um, is everyone also following simultaneously?
Yes.
Okay. Anuradha, can you remind me, when you left last week, did you get into the software or had you left a little bit
No, I
before?
wasn't able to get into the software, so I'll look along with you guys, and for any issues, I can request some colleagues to help me out.
Okay. Okay, very good then. So up to this point, we've entered the data for 2018 for electricity generation, and I know that there might have been this wasn't representative, I recall, for the entire country, but when we for entire country for power generation, but it would be then necessary to see what the additional um, fuels would be to cover the entire country. Correct. Okay, I saw a hand up. Anurara, you had a question?
Yes, Was the previous session also recorded? And if yes, is it possible to share that so I can,
So,
uh,
so
yes,
you could follow, you could catch on from the previous
exactly.
session. Yes,
Yeah,
sure. No problem. So I will share the recording after this session.
thank you.
Okay. And welcome colleagues who've just joined us. Okay, so now let's look at okay, so now we see when we clicked here time series data entry, or we can shift this up, shift this tab up, we can see that there's activity happening. Okay, this is a better representation. So for crude oil, we can see that in 2018, we have now entered data. Okay. And these values here are now in, and it shows the values here in the units that we put it in. So in consumption, and so these were in gigagrams. So now let's look. So now we know that this is the terajoules that were consumed. And when we click this emissions tab here, this out the way. This tab, it shows us then that from this, the amount of terajoules that was consumed, I don't know why it's showing 0 emissions here, but let us then now do a report for the energy sector so that we can get what? Yeah, colleagues, this shouldn't be showing 0 emissions here. So let's add some more. Try to make the screen big enough for everyone. Okay, let's go to our fuel manager. We have values for gasoline. So in this fuel manager, this is where that you can enter all of the fuels that are relevant to Suriname. So you may have some aviation gasoline if you have this information from your airlines. We have crude oil, diesel. Let's add gas, diesel oil, lubricants. You have LPG. Okay, this should be okay. And as I recall, there are no other fuels. There are no solid fuels um, in Suriname. Okay, save this, close. Okay, so then let's see what other data we have. We pull up the screen from the presentation. So we covered 2018 and 2019. Now 2018. So now let us put in for 2019. So I'll put these in the chats. And then I will ask for the help of any of our colleagues to convert the first value for diesel into gigagrams. Any volunteers? Okay.
Gigagram to shows, right?
This is liters to gigagrams.
Gigagram, liters to gigagram, all right.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, let me copy paste the first one. Oh, I'm not getting what I'm supposed to get.
What are you getting?
I'm seeing 11 million to, let me just copy paste it. And when I click convert, I'm getting some other thing about ChatGPT or something, some ad.
Hmm.
I'm not sure why. I'm just getting some ad.
Okay, that's okay. I put it here on the screen if you could still see the screen. So it's a division. So it'll be 11.2284 gigagrams. No problem, German. We'll try again. Don't worry. We have at least 20 more minutes. Okay. So that was for this first value, this 11 million 200,000, etc., is in liters, and that's for diesel. So now, and colleagues for who weren't here last week, when we're creating a new inventory year, we go to inventory year tab at the top, we select which inventory year. So now we're working in 2019. So we've successfully created a new inventory year. Liquid fuels and electricity generation. Gas, diesel, oil. So this is diesel. This is how the IPCC represents diesel. And this is the value that we just converted, right? Tell me, German. You're saying something.
No, my microphone was on, but I had a question.
Sure.
The first column, it says subdivision. In which case would we be using that option?
This is if you have previously made a different if you made national classifications of different types of your fuels. In this case, it's unspecified. But that's a good question. Let me go into Fuel Manager. This is where sorry, colleagues, let me move this off the screen. This would have been here, like if you have defined your own type of fuels, if you would select that, then that's where you would have specified which fuels.
I see.
but it's not close. This part here isn't so relevant. More so the selection of fuels, and you can keep adding new fuels. Yeah, the subdivision is something that if you have a if you had created if you had defined that you'd like to divide your fuels by different names, whether it's like a whether you put a facility name or you put some other type of classification, but because the more um, the more basic the more basic use of it is just to separate it by fuel. So this is how we will use it. Okay, so
I have may
go
I
ahead.
ask another question?
Sure.
When I copy paste the value for the 2019 gas. Oh, maybe I see my mistake because I get a pop-up grid data error occurred. Operation update row 1. Error column subdivision does not allow these nulls. So
German, you need to select the first column. This at the subdivision you have to select unspecified.
unspecified. Oh yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah,
Yes.
I see. I forgot that. Thank you,
Yeah.
Roshana.
Yes, you're welcome.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess a good point. The software is user friendly enough, but in some cases it doesn't it requires that you fill in all of the required spaces, even if you don't have even if it's unspecified, um, for it to complete. Okay, but thank you for the question, German. Okay, what was the second fuel? I see that Roshana put it into the chat. The second fuel is crude oil. Oh, it's on top. Very good. Click save. This is very odd that it shows as 0 for emissions. Let me change it to GCV. Yeah. Yeah, there's some. Sorry, colleagues. I'm just trying to figure out why it shows as 0. That shouldn't be the case, because what this is reading and what it's doing in the back end is taking the consumption in terajoules, and it should then show that you have emissions for 2018 and 2019. So I think I need to do a little bit of troubleshooting to see what is the issue. But let's try for transport. So I know the main sectors for Suriname were um, energy, electricity production, transport. And those are the main ones, right? So let's go here to 1A3 and transport. And we had received some data from on I think this is shipping company. I think MTCC. That's what it is. Colleagues perhaps from the ministry to clarify for me. But let's do an example with a simple one with cars. And so these are the classifications. So cars, passenger cars, light duty trucks, heavy duty trucks and buses, motorcycles, etc. And so it'd be important that the country classifies when you're collecting data, that you classify this data based on these vehicle classifications. So let's go always into the consumption tab. Let's say we're in cars here. For cars, we know that we will use gasoline, okay, so we have to add in the data first. Vehicle fuel type, motor gasoline. Emission control technology. And let's put in a fraction of the value that we had, for example, for diesel in gigagrams. So let's put half of that. Let's put 5.2. Let's do the other one for gas, diesel, oil. And some vehicles, I don't know if Suriname, if you have LPG vehicles or butane powered vehicles.
If we have, we don't know about that.
Okay, so
We are not aware of it.
you're not recorded. Okay, very good then.
Yeah.
Let's say we have, these are all, and this is referring to all the vehicles on the road, right? All of your passenger cars, all of your heavy duty trucks and buses that are on the road. So let's see, maybe you have less diesel vehicles on the road. Fill in all my spaces. Click save. And now we go to the fuel combustion emissions. And this is where we have to select our emission factors. This might have been the missing piece from the previous worksheet. So these emission factors, so as you can see, it pulls up from this vehicle type, from cars, passenger cars, for the two different fuels. The fuel consumed, this is what you entered in the first section. And then now it's prompting you here where it has the red circle, exclamation. This is prompting you to the default emission values for this. And the default emission factors are related to the fuel. And so you have here, this is the emissions. So now it's calculated the emissions for CO2 emissions, and now we have to enter our emission factors for CH4. So this is for diesel. As you can see, only had one default emission factor to choose from. So this is based on uh, EEA value for European heavy duty diesel trucks. And this one, now for gasoline, we have options. So we'll have to choose whether and this is, you have to choose the technology type of the vehicle, right? So we're under cars, under regular small passenger cars, sedans. So here is where you would select if you have which of these would be most relevant. So uncontrolled means that you have this is like you have uncontrolled emissions from your how do you call it, the exhaust pipe on your vehicle. Oxidation catalyst means you have uh, a converter on the end that captures and converts some of the emissions and soot from the back of the vehicle. And this is for low mileage light duty vehicles, older vehicles. So ideally, let's pick something that is more conservative. So let's, or this is maybe where you can tell me if Suriname has if emissions are, if you have, if it's regulated that you need to have a catalytic converter on your vehicles. If not, then we'll put uncontrolled.
We're not sure, or
Okay.
at least I'm not sure.
Okay. So if you don't have to pay a fine or a tax when you check your vehicle for emissions or for the excuse me, the catalytic converter on your vehicle, then more than likely it would be uncontrolled.
Yes, we don't have that. No.
Okay. Okay, good. And so then we select here for emission factors for nitrous oxide here, N2O. Uncontrolled. Okay. Okay, so now you see after selecting the emission factors, it is now showing you what the emissions are for each of these gases for this. And so now it would show here. Let's do a report for energy sector. Let's do a sector. So as you can see, this is, can you still see my screen?
Yes, we can.
Okay. So we've completed for one subsector for 1 year, and this is where you'd be able to see and you can either export to Excel so that you can add or change the formatting, etc., of your emissions, your CO2 emissions, CH4 emissions, and N2O emissions. And as you can see, we did only for energy. All the others are energy and transport, right?
Yeah.
When we go back, we'd have to verify what happened for the electricity production, because this should show emissions as well. But just for the purpose of the exercise, there's always a place where you must include the emission factors, and that you will see every time you see the red circle.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
So this is one example. So you would have to keep doing this for each year, and export as you go for each year so that you can get so that you can add them together. The only thing that the
I have a
IPCC,
question.
sure,
Can you import or export data from more years?
yes.
Yeah.
So I think your question is if you could import your data here into the software so that it can generate it for you. For example, you can work
Yes.
in Excel and then import to
Yeah.
the software. Good. Yes, you can definitely do that.
Okay.
So this is where you do it. So let me just close this. This doesn't. export import tab,
Yep.
and you go to import and you import your worksheet data.
Ah,
Sorry. Let's export first. So export, and you can do it for all sectors, or you can do it for um, just energy.
sure.
Export energy worksheet Suriname.
Sorry.
And then I'll show you what it should look like.
Okay.
Give me 1 second. Uh, don't want it as an XML. One second here. Let's do for just energy industries.
Hmm.
Okay. This this is where you'd be able to export. So
Yeah.
sorry about that. This is where you'd be able to export into Excel.
Okay.
Yeah, so I had to just the file type
Control
was
type. Yeah.
the file type needs to be Excel.
Excel.
So this is, as you can see here, this is the activity data. So this is where you can enter activity data in Excel, and then you can import it. Then that's where you'd be able to import it here, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so this is what it looks like. And then you can edit these. Anything that's activity data, then you can then edit, and then it brings it. It separates it by the different types, by the different subcategories. Then you'd be able to import this. Okay, you can import only in XML. So yeah, okay. So
Okay.
actually, what would be the case is that uh, yes, you can export it, and you can export in Excel and work in Excel.
Yeah.
However, to re-import into the software, it needs to be in a XML version, XML file type. So what and the purpose of that is to be able to manage the different users. Last week we talked about the super user and energy user. So for example, the energy, those who have just permissions for energy can share their XML file with the super user and upload it in XML and have it imported in XML.
Okay.
Yeah, it's not um yeah, and it's done that way to have some controls and uh, to prevent data losses and data overwriting, from my
Okay.
understanding. But Yeah, thank you for that question. I find it still personally useful to enter data in Excel, and then you can also use that data, the exported Excel sheets, as an archive of the activity data that you used for each year. So that is the benefit. When you're finished from the software, even if you don't want to use it afterwards, you can have the exported Excel sheets as an archive of what activity data that you had used. Okay, colleagues. So that completes the short exercise. It really was just an overview of how to enter data into the software for the energy sector. We did electricity production and we did transport. Do you have any questions or any doubts potentially using the software or related to the energy sector? Any of which? Well, then, if not,
No question.
okay. Well, then, if not, I would like to say thank you very much for your attention and coming back. I know instead of doing homework, you chose to come back to the session this morning. So thank you very much, and we'll take a short break until our next session in about 6 minutes, 7 minutes. So then, and then we'll start the waste sector.
Okay, perfect. Thank you, Brittany.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Have a good day.
Okay. Bye.
Bye bye. Thank you. Hi, colleagues. Hi, German, Fiona. We have two people in the lobby, Louise, Julian, and Lalieta. I will let them in now. Is that okay?
I'm not sure about the first one, but I do know Lalita. Luis Julian. Can you Didi? Oh, yeah,
Yes.
yeah, Luis Selin. Yes, yes, indeed. My bad. Okay.
Okay, these are the waste people, yeah?
Yes, indeed.
Okay, thank you. Hi, good morning, everyone. Welcome. We'll be starting in just a couple minutes, waiting for another person to join. But thank you for joining, and we'll start very soon. Thank you very much. In the meantime, could you put in the chat your name and the institution that you represent, please? Okay, colleagues, thank you very much. So I will start. Is that okay to start, our colleagues from the ministry?
Let me check with the others if we're expecting some more people.
Okay, no problem. Hi, good day. Lalita from the Suriname Waste Management Foundation and freelance. Okay, Suwama. Very nice to meet you, Salita. Lalita, sorry. Colleagues, I've asked in the meantime if we could just introduce ourselves in the chat. My name is Brittany Main Rancharan, and I am the Regional Network Coordinator for the Anglophone Caribbean Network of the Capacity Building Initiative for Transparency under the Global Support Program. And I'm here with you all today on the request from our colleagues from the Ministry and Climate Change Division to support uh, Suriname and its stakeholders in in putting together and understanding the elements of the greenhouse gas inventory while Suriname is preparing its first biennial transparency report. And by doing so, we will be taking a look at the IPCC inventory software and trying to get some hands-on experience. So thank you. That's German in the chat, Fiona in the chat. Very good. Colleagues from the ministry. Nice to see you all. And we have one other person in the room. Please feel free. And you can also feel free to take off your mics or put in the chat, whichever you are more comfortable with. Okay. So the overall objectives of these sessions is to equip participants with a deeper understanding of the IPCC 2006 guidelines for the greenhouse gas inventory across the energy, industrial processes and product use, or IPPU sector, and waste sectors, and also to familiarize participants with the Biennial Transparency Report under the Paris Agreement and offer some practical training on how to put together the greenhouse gas inventory inside the IPCC software. So, as just for some background, Suriname has recently completed its third national communication in 2003, I believe, and that included its most recent national greenhouse gas inventory, and that covered the period from 2000 to 2017. And now, this year, the country is looking to report its first biennial transparency report by December 2024. And as a result, the country is aiming to update its greenhouse gas inventory to include data now from 2018 to 2022. So this is where we have each of you from the different sector representations, how you are involved um, in this process, and we hope to have you engage and also to have uh, you support the ministry in conducting this process. And just an overview of the agenda. So these sessions are uh, this virtual series of workshop is broken into 5 sessions over approximately 4 weeks. And so last week we covered 2 sessions. So we did an introductory session of the inventory process, and then we also covered the energy sector. And today we'll be focusing on the waste sector. So we'll look at data input methodologies and reporting in the waste sector, and also going into the software. And we'll be going for up to for the next 2 hours. And then the next week we'll have IPPU, and in November we will have one joint session where the country team will present some of the information that it's collected for its greenhouse gas inventory to the extent that's possible. So this is the overview for today. So we'll take a look at an overview of waste sector methodologies and data needs. We'll have a short break, and then we'll use the remainder of the time to enter data into the software for the waste sector. And at any point, um, you're welcome to ask any questions. This is a small group, so please feel comfortable to come off mic or camera, or in the chat, and interrupt me at any time. And I have one short slide to introduce yourself. And I see that we have most of our colleagues have introduced themselves in the chat. But I would like to invite you to at least address the last point here. Um, you've given your name, your agency or institution where you're from, and then I'd also like to understand a little bit more about your role in the greenhouse gas inventory process for Suriname. So I will start. I'm Brittany Main Rancharan from CIBIT GSP, and I am supporting the Suriname Ministry of Environment to provide trainings and technical support uh, in the IPCC software. And so I'll pass it to our colleagues from the ministry, and then our other colleagues that have joined us.
Okay, hi everyone. Good afternoon. My name is German Adang. I'm from the Ministry of Spatial Planning and Environment. And what my role is basically helping with the reports, the BTR, the NDC, all the reports we have to submit to the Secretariat of the UNFCCC. And at this point, we are just collecting data, and that's what I'm helping with up until now. It is my first time, I think, for most of us, working on a BTR. So it's a learning by doing process for me. So thank you over to Fiona.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Fiona Purono from the Ministry of Environment. What my role is in the greenhouse gas inventory. Oh, colleague is talking on the background. Um, I would like. I have the same opinion as German. It's learning by doing. I'm very new here, and our role in the ministry is also screening and reporting to the UNFCCC. So, yes. Thank you.
Thank you. Any others? Introduce themselves.
No, I think Shireen is on the phone, but we have another
Okay.
colleague, Shireen. She's also helping us most of the times with data and administrative work. But we also have Miss Peterson, but she's also not in the meeting. So that's the team, the climate team working on the VTR
Okay.
from the ministry.
Very good.
My
Luis?
name, my name is Louise Suilen. I work at the University of Suriname, the environmental department as a lecturer, and I was involved in the NC3 report and for the waste sector. So I know already about the greenhouse gas inventory, but it is also good to see what are the new developments so I can learn from.
Very good. Thank you so much, Louise, and thank you for joining us. Good that you've been a part of the last greenhouse gas inventory. I think that will be important for our discussions today. Okay, good.
Yes, and last but not least, Lalita Somwaru here from the Suriname Waste Management Foundation. But I already mentioned I'm also a freelance consultant and also assisted in developing the capacity building chapter and one more chapter, which one was that? Sorry, I forgot. But the capacity building chapter for our last report to the UNFCCC. Oh yes, I also assisted with the vulnerability assessment. I'm quite new to the greenhouse gas inventory, so very curious about how this works. Thank
Okay,
you.
excellent. Well, so happy to have you all join us today, and I think it's good. We'll all support each other.
Yeah.
And good afternoon. We have one colleague that just joined us, Angelica. So welcome. We've just been introducing ourselves before we get started. So,
Okay, do you hear me?
yes.
Okay, because I see that my mic is on, but I have a notification that my microphone is muted. I'm Angelica Namdar. I'm working at the University of Suriname, Faculty of Technology, and I'm mostly lecturing in spatial planning and environment.
Very good. Okay, very good. Thank you for joining us, Angelica. And yes, my name is Brittany Main Rancharan. I am with the Capacity Building Initiative for Transparency Global Support Program. I'm supporting the government of Suriname and the Ministry of Environment in helping build some capacity and do some hands-on work in the IPCC inventory software as Suriname is trying to put together its greenhouse gas inventory. And so today we'll be looking at the waste sector, and so I will give I'll give a summary of the different waste chapters that fall under the greenhouse gas inventory, and and then we will go into the IPCC software. Um, but before we start, and before I start, can I get a raise of hands or an indication in the chat who has familiarity with the IPCC inventory software already, or have seen it or downloaded it ever before? Okay, Louise, good. Okay. And then some of our colleagues from the ministry have. Okay. Louise, do you have a comment or a question, or this is raising your hand?
No,
To say.
no question.
Okay.
Excuse me,
Okay.
no question.
Okay, very good. Okay, so at some point we will take a short pause, and then I will invite you all to download the IPCC inventory software for those who don't have it on their laptop already, on their computers already. So the first these are the main sections that are in the greenhouse gas inventory chapter, the waste chapter. So this is 4A, solid waste disposal, and this is covered by managed solid waste disposal sites, unmanaged waste, uncategorized waste, as well as biological treatment of solid waste. So if you have different treatment systems, aerobic, anaerobic, others. And then incineration and open burning of waste. So waste incineration, whether it's done at a specific facility, this is often used for medical waste, and other types of specialized waste that need to be incinerated. And then open burning of waste refers to the free open air burning of domestic solid waste from different communities. So this is often considered also unmanaged, but it is burned. So let's start with a short quiz. And this is, I know we have a variety of different expertise and backgrounds here, but let's to start. Which category is not a part of the 2006 IPCC guidelines for the waste sector? And if you have some background in waste, you may be able to guess. Methane emissions from solid waste, N2O emissions from wastewater, mechanical biologic treatment of organic waste, or emissions from waste incineration with energy recovery. It's a tough one, yeah? Any volunteers? Sure. So we'll get more into the theory shortly. But the answer for this one is D. CO2, carbon dioxide, methane, and nitrous oxide emissions from waste incineration with energy recovery. And the only reason why this one is not there is because it includes the term energy recovery. So the waste sector emissions is looking at emissions that are coming from the production of waste and the disposal of waste and the treatment of different types of liquid or solid waste. So energy recovery, the recovery of energy, whether it's from waste to energy conversion, that would fall under the energy sector. Okay. So number 2, which is typically the largest source of methane emissions in the waste sector?
even know what the sources are exactly.
This one is tough. This one is it's it's easier than you think. If what would be the largest source of methane emissions? What is you think it's solid waste, maybe it's industrial waste, landfills, open burning. So the response is solid waste disposal sites. So landfills generally lead to more methane emissions than open dumps, for example. But open burning, but however, open burning is often more common in developing countries. And this is where I'd like to ask our colleagues what is the case in Suriname. What is the most common form of waste disposal? Domestic solid waste disposal. We
It
have a
is
more
open dumping. We don't have landfills, but we have open dump.
okay, open dumps. Okay. So open dumps. So good. This will be important when we go into our exercise. Thank you very much. Thanks for responding. And then how could you reduce methane emissions from solid waste disposal? Well, of course, it could be from reduction of waste in general or increased recycling, but also landfill gas recovery. The last might not be the case for Suriname, especially if you don't have specific landfills. But for those who have landfills, there are ways to capture the methane gas. And the last one, which of the following is not a possible wastewater treatment pathway? Disposal in a sewer and sent to wastewater treatment facility, treated on site at an industrial facility, disposed of in rivers and streams, solid separation and composting at a dairy farm facility, or lastly, disposed of in septic systems.
I think disposed stuff in rivers and streams, but how? Because that's just so it's like just this. How do you say? Just I'm not sure what the English term is, but you're just it's
Untreated,
just
right?
getting in. Yeah, it's just untreated. There's no process.
Right, no process, right? So technically, disposal in rivers and streams is considered it's not a treatment, you're right. It's not a wastewater treatment pathway. It's not a treatment, but it is a potential pathway for liquid waste. But if I was a teacher, I would accept that answer if you wrote that on a test. But the answer to this one, is D, where it refers to dairy farms, right? Separation and composting at a dairy farm facility. And the only reason for this is that um, once uh, agricultural wastes are accounted for under the agriculture sector, so you'll see that in other colleagues when you do the other sectors of the greenhouse gas inventory that um, waste and dung and animal waste is treated under the agriculture sector. But
Okay,
German,
maybe
I
I
would.
can ask.
Mhm,
Oh,
go
sorry.
ahead. No, go ahead.
Okay, because maybe I can just ask the question right away. The waste from the companies, will that be included also on the IPPU, or because that's a little complex? The waste from some companies are gathered and disposed of at our dump site.
Hmm.
So how do you make the do you distinguish those two? So IPPU waste and waste sector itself, because here you include waste from the agriculture on the agriculture, not on the waste, and waste from the energy sector also on the energy sector.
Yeah, so it's a very, very good question. Um, I'll start with why agriculture waste falls under agriculture. And this is this separation, solid separations and composting at a dairy farm uh, goes under agriculture because it impacts soils, right? And in this case, whether it's from animals or any livestock that goes into whether when it's gathered and then it's used for composting, will then go back into will then go back into the soil. And so soil emissions are then accounted for under agriculture. That is the only reason why agriculture waste from animals specifically don't fall under the waste sector. But for industry, so if you have your different industries that are producing waste, that does fall under the waste sector. There's a subcategory called industrial waste, industrial solid and liquid waste. Uh, it will matter at the point of source of the generation of the waste. So if your industries produce and collect data for the amount and the volume of the waste that they produce and send to the municipal dump site, then you can make that separation. But if that is not done or if that's not accounted for, then uh, then you would account for it as just a national value, including domestic and industrial, which I suspect might be the case for Suriname. Or maybe our colleagues have more experience or more knowledge on if we're able to understand and separate the different waste sources.
Yes, I think Miss Silent maybe has more experience on that.
Okay, so we'll touch a little bit more on that later. But thank you for the question, German. That's a very appropriate question. Um, and it was just a little quiz to get us starting and to get us thinking about where different waste streams fall, and sometimes they may fall under uh, a different sector completely, right? So uh, so these are the main sections of the waste sector. So you have solid waste disposal, and you mentioned that for Suriname, it's a open dump. And so the primary gas that would be produced in the waste sector and from those dumps would be methane gas or CH4. You have the biological treatment of solid waste. And so this is coming from this is occurring if you have solid waste that you treat in digesters or um, aerobic or anaerobic digesters. This is often the case in um, when you have specialized waste and you can capture gas. Uh, you can capture gas from the outlet of an industry, for example, and you treat the waste in a digester so that it can break it down and produce gas. And then there's incineration and open burning. So this is referring to solid waste. Incineration, perhaps for medical waste or specific hazardous waste, and then open burning is often another uncontrolled method of burning of municipal waste and producing these three gases, CO2, methane, and nitrous oxide. And then wastewater, which would be this is referring to both domestic wastewater that's coming from our houses, our homes, our toilets, going either into septic tanks or being or going directly into an open stream or open water source in some cases, or in some rural situations. And then in addition to industrial wastewater treatment, right? So if you have specific soft drink companies or distilleries uh, for alcohol, wastewater is often a component. So this is the answer to the first quiz question, was that the largest source of emissions in the waste sector is usually from solid waste disposal sites. And so this is where, and this slide is showing where there are possible overlaps between the waste and energy sector. So in the energy sector, just to be cautious, that the burning of waste for energy recovery would be reported in the energy sector. And if there's no energy, if there's no energy that's recovered in terms of converting that gas into energy, or having that gas spin a turbine, then it would be reported into waste. And also methane that's recovered from landfills or from wastewater facilities and burned for energy are reported in the energy sector. And the cross section between the waste and agriculture sector is that in the agriculture sector, that anaerobic digestion and composting of manure falls under the agriculture sector. So anything that does with manure from livestock and then is put back into the ground that touches soil would then go into the agriculture sector. And then manure that's burned without energy recovery is reported under waste. So once there's no energy recovery happening, you can report it under as a waste. And then in addition, in some agricultural applications, you have sludge that's removed from ponds, or sludge that's removed from different facilities that are treating, that are producing dairy or eggs, etc. So sludge that's removed from wastewater will be, if it's applied to the soils and sent to landfills, or if it's composted or digested or incinerated, then it would be treated as waste. And then compost or sludge that's applied to cropland or grassland is reported under agriculture. Agriculture or any other land use. Agriculture or forestry and any other land use. So the distinction is anything that goes back into the soil is considered agriculture, and anything that is purely a waste material and that's discarded would be treated under the waste sector. Okay, but before I go any further, do you have any questions so far, or any questions or comments so far? Yes, go ahead, Louise.
Suppose a company use agriculture products to make their final product. Because sometimes we had discussion when you are busy with the NC3 report, you have to see it as agriculture waste or as industrial waste. Because sometimes the companies just use only agriculture products. But they are not agriculture company, because they are let's say just a company that is processing agriculture products, making into final products, and during that process they have waste. Is it agriculture waste or is it industrial waste?
So in that case, that's a good question. I think it depends on the type of the waste that they're the waste that they would be producing would still be like an agricultural type of waste, right? The waste product is from, would be the byproduct of whatever they're processing from from agriculture to their final product, correct?
Huh.
Okay,
Uh,
so if you if they're using an agriculture, if they're using an agriculture byproduct to they're processing that and making a final product, and they generate some waste from that, it would then not be agriculture waste unless they apply it to the soils, unless they use it as fertilizer. So it depends on what the waste product is. So if they're, uh, I don't know what the product is you're referring to, but if it's an organic product that they're producing and the waste is organic and they're using that to put back into the soil, then it would be considered an agriculture waste. If it's something that's processed, that cannot be reapplied to soils, then it would be considered as industrial waste.
okay, that is the main, let's say, the main difference. This it must be applied to the soil. Then it is that type of waste is agriculture waste.
That's correct.
Okay.
That's correct. Yeah, that's the main distinction. And for energy, if you're using that waste to then produce energy, then it would not be waste. Then it would be an energy. It would fall under the energy sector, an energy product. But if not, then it would just be waste generated from an industrial process. So it would be industrial waste. Okay, good. Very good question. These are these are these are the these are the tough questions when you are putting your inventory together that sometimes you don't know where the different waste flows are going. Okay, so these are the common solid waste pathways. So post-consumer, so whatever you're eating or using, consuming, and then waste is it's collected from your source, from your homes, your offices, and then some may be diverted for recycling and reusing. I don't know if Suriname has any recycling facilities, but it might. Or it can go then to a landfill, but recognizing that in this case it would be an open dump mainly, right? For in the country's case, right? Not a managed landfill. And then some wastes go to be incinerated at a facility, likely medical waste. And then if there's others, they will go to um, anaerobic digestion. Perhaps you want to break down more sludges and waste that you can generate some energy from. And then the remainder will go back to your landfill, right? And for wastewater, it's a similar pathway, um, except now it's breaking it down from domestic and industrial. So untreated, leaving your house, untreated wastewater. So it can either be uncollected, and in some cases, perhaps um, in some smaller communities or rural communities, you often have untreated wastewater. So it's coming directly from your toilets or your showers, etc. Everything is going out into a drain directly um, into the yeah into the drains, into the public waterways, streams or rivers. Or if it's collected, then um, it will go to a through your sewer, open sewer, and then to your municipal wastewater treatment, where you can have a combination of aerobic and anaerobic treatments. Um, it's treated, the sludge is treated, and then the remainder of processed wastewater is discharged to land or discharge to land or open streams. And then from sludges from your municipal wastewater treatment facilities, then you can further treat the sludge that's remaining, right? And so this is also the same case for industrial wastewater. So you might have some on-site treatment, whether it's a open pond, a treatment with bacterial agents, and then it is then afterwards is treated, it's discharged into the natural environment. So now for waste generation, composition, and management data. So you want to ultimately ensure that you have consistency across the categories with this basic understanding of this basic underlying activity data. So for solid waste, biologic treatment of waste, and open burning, you would like to know quantities. So in what quantity waste is being generated from homes or at the open dumps. If there's any biological treatment, what's the quantity, and also what is the quantity that's being burned or it's being incinerated or burned. And so apart from quantities, we'd also need to know waste composition, right? So this is waste composition will vary from country to country, depending on the economic situation. If you have a lot of industry, your waste composition will be very different. And generally the lifestyle of the oops of the population. Can you still see my screen, colleagues?
Yes, we can.
Yes.
Okay, sorry about that. One moment, colleagues. It went missing from my screen. Okay, sorry about that. Back. Back again. One moment. Okay. All right, apologies. Here we are. Yes, so it's the quantities, the composition, and then the waste treatment and the management practices. So this is a question for our colleagues here. Uh, you mentioned that the main solid waste disposal in the country is open dump, right? Not necessarily a landfill. At the dumps or at the main dump or the different dumps, is there a record of how much waste is generated?
There is a record, but these records are not based on a weighing scale, but
Mm-hmm.
just the people working there make an estimation,
Okay.
visual estimation. They look at it and they, yeah,
Mm-hmm. Maybe from the number of trucks that are coming in every day and
yeah.
so forth. Okay, so the people.
They look at the trucks, and sometimes the capacity is written on the truck, but based also on experience,
Mm-hmm.
they know this is the size of the truck. There's so much waste is in the truck.
Okay, very good. Okay, good. So that's good to know. So that is so like I mentioned, it varies from country to country. And how about waste composition? Is there also if it's measured only like an estimation? How about waste composition? Would it be possible to know approximately how much of the waste that comes in on each truck is, how much is like garden waste or like trees and branches? How much, what percentage is plastic? What percentage is diapers or nappies? The different fraction, glass, etc.
Yes. So what is done, we had, let's say, two to three big measuring events in the let's say in Paramaribo mainly, and where we did uh, observations at the entrance of the dumping site, and
Mm-hmm.
also we did research at the households.
Okay.
This, where we where the waste of the household were weighing for almost a week. And
Oh.
at the dump site, we asked because there you cannot go and turn the waste in the truck, but we
Mm-hmm.
asked the driver, from which company are you coming? What is in the truck? And they tell us that this is in this kind of waste, it's in the truck. But for the
Okay.
composition, uh, we mainly focus on our household surface where we weigh the waste of the different households.
Okay. Very
And
good.
for and also for some companies, they have they weigh their waste. Some companies, and we ask them also from what is your composition, and they could give us that information. But not all the companies are doing that.
Okay. So I have a couple questions. So thank you very much for that clarification. So maybe the waste quantities might be easier to get. Waste composition, we have an estimation from household surveys to understand the composition or the percentage of the different waste types in municipal waste primarily. And then you also mentioned that there are multiple dump sites and multiple sites that would need to be accounted for. Is there does does SUAMA, or is there any agency that covers the scope of all municipal solid waste management for the country? And the only reason I ask this is because for the context of this greenhouse gas inventory, it's important that the waste that's generated is accounted for uh, on a country basis. So for the entire country. So whether it's Paramaribo or the other cities and other smaller communities, the numbers for total waste generation should account for the entire country. So I suppose data collection would have to be done site by site, right?
So,
Yes. I think the department Openbaar Groen en Afvalbeheer, which is literally translated Public Green and Waste Management, is now responsible for waste management nationwide.
Very good.
Yes, to which extent they collect data, as mevrouw, Miss Louisa Zeiler just mentioned, it's not done continuously. I think it's mostly done on a project basis. Correct me if I'm right, Miss Zeiler, but that's what they mentioned to me in a meeting this year, during a meeting this year. But they are responsible for 4 of these open dump sites throughout Suriname.
Okay. Very good. So thank you. Excellent. That's excellent context. So at least
What
there's
I what
mhm.
I can add to this is that I did this together with students for their final works. We did a research on different smaller operdumps because in the district you have smaller operdumps. There they made a calculation of the composition and the quantity, but that is, let's say, maybe once in so many years. But it gives still gives some idea about the composition and the amount of waste that is produced in some of the districts.
Okay, very good. So there are a few different studies, maybe some from your students, some from projects that we can that you can combine that we can combine to understand over time what would be the solid waste that's generated, whether in a certain community or by certain dump site, and then the waste composition. Very good. I think this is excellent context, and I know this will support the ministry folks as they put together the data and as they continue to um, collect data for the waste sector. Okay, very good. And then uh, these last two slides is really showing what was done in Suriname's last greenhouse gas inventory and the different sectors that were covered. So it covered solid waste disposal, um, biological treatment of solid waste was not done, and E was not estimated. And whether it was not estimated because it wasn't occurring or there wasn't enough information, I'm not so sure. Incineration and open burning of waste was done. This was tier one, and this was the type of data was national waste composition data. Wastewater treatment and discharge was also done. And so these are some of the notes that were gathered from the most recent greenhouse gas inventory. So solid waste disposal um, was defined as being unmanaged deep and unmanaged shallow, and this is consistent with what both you, Ms. Louise and Lalita, have been saying, that the management of solid waste is open dump, right? So it's unmanaged. So that's what this is referring to. And deep, unmanaged deep, and shallow, meaning the depth of the mounds of waste over time. And the main disposal site is here at Ornamibo. And so this is uncontrolled combustion. So this might mean that there's been some fires and is classified as unmanaged deep. And then other sites, municipal solid waste from Paramaribo, Wanika, and these other areas. And you must forgive my pronunciations. I need to visit and sharpen my pronunciations of all of these cities in Suriname.
All
And these
good, all good.
thank you, German. Very kind of you. Okay, so this is for solid waste. And then these were the others, right? So for incineration, for incineration and open burning of waste, it was noted that there were no installations for incineration. However, um, hazardous waste uh, management does not have the specific dedicated facilities. And so almost all some hazardous wastes were disposed um, at the same uncontrolled or domestic solid waste sites. However, for medical waste, there were 7 incineration facilities. So, and then others for the burning and cremation of carcasses. So is this all seem consistent with what is happening at the underground in the national situation? This
Right,
would
I
mean
know.
okay.
Yes, it does.
Okay. So then good. So then the last inventory is a good place to continue the work for 2018 to 2022. And for wastewater
You-
treatment,
Excuse me,
yes,
but I
sure.
think for the incinerator facilities, the situation has changed now.
Okay.
Lalita, maybe you can tell more about that. Oh,
Okay, I think if it regards operational incinerators,
mhm.
we currently have one in Paramaribo, which is operational. Um, However, they do not have a license to do so. And there is one in Nikeri, which is operational with a license. And I see greater to in greater Paramaribo. Then you have the furnace for animal carcasses. For so far, I know there have been several incinerators placed throughout the country, the smaller incinerators, but those were installed for domestic waste. And I'm not sure if they are operational. For so far, I know the majority is not operational. However, it was the intention to allocate a few of those to medical facilities throughout the country. I do not know if that has been done as yet, but currently I know there's one in Paramaribo, one in Nikeri, and then you have, yeah, the one for the electrical furnaces. These are the ones that are actually operational.
Okay. Very good. Thank you. Thanks for that clarification. German? German?
Yes, I'm not sure what the term is, but would the cremation of people also be regarded as waste, and under which category would we place it?
Okay, so for sorry, someone else is coming in. Please go ahead if they are. No? So for it's a little bit different, but ultimately yes. Um, because it would be considered organic waste that um, is being incinerated. So either way, there's a generation of emissions that is coming from any incineration facility. So any animals, human cremation would fall under incineration.
Okay. So
Okay.
it was we can just see it as animal carcasses. Is it the same? That's
I
why
think
I'm asking the question.
this here is referring to animal shelters. I got this information from Suriname's last greenhouse gas inventory. So I didn't see anything referring to like incineration, like cremation facilities. But if there are those, then they would also be included here. But I wouldn't consider humans as animals carcasses.
That's
But
why
but yeah, I
because I
think
don't see the category. We
yeah,
do
but
not have a. Oh, Miss Soilen wants to say something.
No, I want to
She's.
ask a question. This cremation of dead bodies must be listed under the waste sector.
anything that goes inside the incineration facility. So, in some cases, in some cases it's done with just human and body remains. It doesn't have to just be bodies. It could be from hospitals. Maybe they have tissues or organs from surgeries and different things. All of that would fall under the waste category, yes, for incineration.
But if it is coming from the hospital, it is placed in the medical waste.
Yes, it would be considered medical waste.
But this is
Medical waste that's incinerated. Sorry to clarify.
but cremation of I mean somebody's dead and yeah, we have to put it into the waste sector.
Anything that comes from the hospital, because it's not always so clearly defined. If the data is available, it could be added. If it's not available and just medical waste for like syringes and other things that are incinerated from hospital waste. If it's not separated from like organic and other medical waste, then often those numbers are together. So it would fall under medical waste.
But for instance, if like they burn the dead bodies at Wegnaar, how do you say that? Help me. Wegnaar,
The
and
cremation of the
the
dead bodies.
yeah, is that yeah? That is a little bit confusing.
Yes, it is because both are somehow um having the same impact. The one will go in the open air directly, the other one will stay in a closed environment, but in the end, and actually it feels if you look at it based on our culture, if we appoint
Mhm.
that as waste, it's very unrespectful.
Right.
Mhm. No,
So
no,
I
but I
think
was.
that perhaps we have to find another way of defining or categorizing this. But I do understand that actually, if you look at it with common sense objectively, it is a kind of waste because it has impact on, let's say, the environment.
Yes. Yeah, I mean
Even
that's
when you bury people, it is.
yeah, it is one of the more sensitive areas, definitely. In some case, it just depends on the facility. So if cremation of humans that have passed are done at an incineration facility, then there are different factors or different impacts from incineration as opposed to um, like a uncontrolled, or if it depends on the type of facility where cremation is done. But if it is often in some countries, medical waste from a hospital, um, whether it's plastic syringes, etc., as well as other medical waste from surgeries or etc. Not necessarily bodies. Sometimes it is done. It's the same place that you would take bodies to be cremated after passing. So sometimes there's not a distinction. There's not always a clear distinction of what medical waste is, but yeah, indeed, objectively, it does generate emissions, um, and so it is considered a waste output. But there's nowhere in the IPCC guidelines that has cremation, for example. So it all falls under medical waste. German?
Excuse me.
Yes,
I
yes.
have another.
Okay.
Oh, sorry.
Maybe you
Sorry.
can go because maybe I have a whole nother topic. Maybe you can go ahead, Mr. Ali.
But burying of the dead bodies, is
That's
that
exactly what
landfilling?
I was what I was gonna ask.
Yeah,
Burying, burials.
yeah.
That that's what I just also mentioned because if you bury someone, it's also a kind of waste. If I look at it from a spatial planning and urban planning perspective, years ago I had to identify places for lots for hoe zeg je begraafplaatsen?
Cemeteries?
Cemeteries.
Cemeteries.
Cemetery.
Mm-hmm.
And actually, because of the impact, the process of rotten, our water
Decomposition.
management system,
Mm-hmm.
our water management system, you are selecting the best places with the best soil and the best topography to put it there. From a public health perspective, you have to do that because you are treating, we are not talking about it, um, but you are treating it as a very risky activity, to say it like that. I'm trying to formulate it a bit.
Yeah.
more diplomatic, but it is somehow. So I think that in our situation in Suriname, we have to look at it and have to define those kinds of things for ourselves and add those in our reports. Because when you look at waste, you look at solid waste, you look at air pollution, you look at liquids, you look
Mhm.
at everything. So we have to deal with it.
Yes, and I think you're bringing it exactly from a spatial planning perspective. Um, from the
Yeah.
point of view of national greenhouse gas inventory, burials are not captured under as an emission source. So that is there's the for this report that doesn't need to be accounted for in this particular
But as far as
inventory.
we know, of
But
as
yes,
far
but
as we are as far as we are aware at this moment.
yeah, the guidelines haven't changed to include that yet. But definitely, yes, I agree that there's a impact to water and leachate and the surrounding areas. Yes, but that's your area of expertise. That I don't
Yeah.
know. I don't know much about that one. But that doesn't need to be accounted for a greenhouse
Okay.
from emissions perspective. But thank you, very very good interventions, and I think this has helped me a lot also to understand the national context for waste in Suriname. Do you have any other questions? And then if not, then I will ask if we could take a short break, 10-minute break at least, before we go into the exercise. Is that okay with everyone?
Yeah.
Okay,
Perfect.
thank you. Okay, so we will come back at what time is it there, German? It's
10 past
one.
1.
1. Okay, so we'll come back at 20 past 1. And in the
Perfect.
meantime, I will put the link to the IPCC software in the chat, so that you can, for those who haven't, to download it. Be right
How
back.
many at what time are we coming back?
1:20.
1:20. Okay. Great.
Thank you. Hi, colleagues. Oh boy. I just saw your photo.
I'm sorry, but I cannot help.
Yeah, I should have sent it
It's
to.
yeah,
I should have sent it
it's
earlier.
yeah. And our internet. How do you
Nope.
say it in a correct way? Socks.
Sucks. Yeah. Whether that's the correct or that's just the truth. Yeah.
That's
Okay.
how I was thinking. No, we do have some challenges with internet on the university for the last couple of days
Not a
in some
problem.
of the buildings. Yeah.
Not a problem, Miss Angelica. For those who are unable to have the software downloaded, you can follow. You can follow on the screen. And well, we're being recorded, so we'll also share the recorded sessions after this, if that is helpful. If you need to see it again, is everyone back in the room?
Yes, I think
Okay.
so.
Let's see.
Okay.
German, thumbs up. Louise. Okay, everyone is here. Okay, welcome back. We will use the remaining of time up until 2 o'clock to do an exercise in time inside the IPCC software, and this is really to try to help our colleagues who will be collecting the data and putting the data into the inventory to get a better feel of it. So let me share my screen again. Um, okay, here we are. Okay, so for those who have the inventory software open, uh, if you are doing it for the first time, I would ask you to create a login and a password that's on the screen. But uh, if you have the inventory software open from our previous exercises from the previous sector, then you can continue to use the login information that you had. Okay. So this is what we'll do. We'll go into the software and we'll create the inventory year 2020. Or any year. Maybe 2018 as well. We'll ensure that the region is Latin American Caribbean. Country is Suriname. Go into the waste. Everyone, to our colleagues that have the inventory software open, do you have it still in the region, Suriname region?
I'm not sure. How do you check that?
So I wish I could share two screens at the same time, but let me change my screen. Okay, you can see the screen now?
Yes, we can.
Okay. So this is the country, the region should be Latin America and Caribbean. If you like, you could put South. You're more in the South, yes? Climate zone is tropical wet. Definitely you're not this is more you're more wet and humid, right? Or you're more dry? What would you this and these matter these this climate zone here matters because this will impact how your waste treatment, your dumps operate. Like if it's the hotter your country is, the more methane gas will be generated from your solid waste disposal site. The cooler it is, the less or the slower it will take. Okay, so the starting year. One moment, let me open my other screen. Okay, so starting year 1950. So this is considering that you have it's over 50 years or so of over 50 years or so of the solid the of the dump site being present, and then delay in time 6 months. We can keep these are defaults. Fraction of methane developed in gas. So this is saying here that about 50% of methane that's produced will be released, and these are all defaults considering that you don't have this information. And then we hit click save. And then this when you go here, when you click here in the waste type parameters, this is where you'd be able to select which of these waste types and industry types you'd like to use in your calculations. Right? So industrial waste, we can keep everything that's available, that's possible as an option. And then this here, these degradable organic carbon. So this
Brittany,
is
sorry.
yes, sure.
I have a question.
Mhm.
When do I need to fill in new inventory year?
For the inventory year, here, going up to here to inventory year, either choose or create. I have actually kept my inventory year as 2018, but
2018.
you could select 2018. So if you have from the previous exercises that we've done, Sareen, we created all of these years. Do you have 2018 available?
Yes, yes.
Okay. And
No,
if you
what
didn't,
happened was is that in the previous session I couldn't type my password and I couldn't log in. So
no.
I'm starting all over now.
Oh no, you forgot the password?
Yes.
That's that's okay. You just need to create one that you can remember, and then you write it down. But
Yes.
this is where, and then if you want to add a new year or create a new, then you can create inventory year. Okay, but I can see here I'm in 2018. We refer to my other. Okay, so I just need to verify here what my. Okay, let's go here for parameters in. This is for harvested wood products. Okay. I just want to verify here that the degradable organic carbon, it matches the matches those that I have on the screen here. Colleagues, just so you know what I'm looking at. These are the IPCC inventory defaults for degradable organic carbon for these main types of waste categories. So that's what I'm checking here. All of these are good. This is default. Very good. So let me click save. Save. And then now, okay, colleagues, one moment here. And then you can see here that the user interface for entering solid waste data within the software, you have you have these every time, each of these that you click on, you have the different types of um, the different subcategories that you can enter data for under the waste sector. So there's managed waste, there's unmanaged waste disposal sites. And so we recall for Suriname that it was unmanaged, right? And open site, uncategorized waste disposal, and then the others, right? Biological treatment of solid waste. This was not included for Suriname's last inventory. Incineration, waste incineration. This is where you would put it. Open burning, and then these are the sections for wastewater, right? Domestic wastewater. But for this exercise, we'll be looking at solid waste. So here, yeah, so these, as you can see, this is the same page here that we're pulling up, right? This interface here with the parameters, solid waste disposal types, activity data, there are 6 different worksheets that we can use just for solid waste disposal. And so that goes from activity data, the amount that is deposited in each site, and then also for harvested wood products. And harvested wood products refers to um, uh, wood and other organic material um, that's coming either from disposed furniture or things that are disposed in a waste in a solid waste facility, but they have different emissions, and the reason is because wood will store its carbon in it for many years, so it will behave differently than regular municipal solid waste that would decompose quickly. So this is here. This is what we've done so far. We select the suitable country and region, and we've started selecting the climate zone, as this is important to help us determine what is the methane generation rate constant, right? So in this case, we had put Latin America and Caribbean, and we put the climate zone as tropical wet, and this that would indicate that it's warm and that your methane generation would be high. So we've done this so far. And this slide is looking at the different is looking at the Excel version of the software. So this is noting that the region and climate zone of a country can influence the decay rate of waste. So for example, if a country has both hot and wet regions and hot and dry regions, the decay rates may vary between these regions. And so if they're so if you have the extent of data that you can disaggregate by region in your own country, then you can change your climate zone for each country, for each region or portion of your country. But in this situation, I think it may just be one climate zone that's considered. Okay, so now let's select our our decomposition rate. Can you see this screen large enough?
Not really.
Not really. Okay,
It's
so I'll go back into the software so that you can see where. One moment, sorry. Okay. One moment, colleagues. Okay. Okay. Here we are. So this here is this here that says parameters for harvested wood products. This is where you'd be able to enter if you had this waste composition fraction, how much of what percentage of wood products is garden waste, paper, wood, for example, then you'd be able to add it there. So in instances where national data in this area is lacking, you can use the waste composition option in the that are available as default, right? So now let us now go enter activity data into the software for tier 1 approach. So let's go to activity data. So tier 1 approach is the most is the most basic way to enter data into the software. So this means that you don't have full classification of your waste in volumes, and you might not have a clear understanding of the fraction of waste. So we'll include here what the estimation would be from the population. So based on the population, then it could generate um, the total waste, right? As you can see here, total waste would then be population times the waste per capita. So the waste generated per person, this would give you the waste per year. So in the interest of time, I have found the population data for Suriname from the World Bank data. Obviously, you have your own national data for your population census. So let's put, and this is just to show you where I have access this data from, right? Population total, and it shows in each year what the population is. And let me send this also in the chat so that you can look for yourselves, because what I will ask is that you tell me what the population is for a certain year. Sorry, German, I didn't see your hand up. Please go ahead.
yes. Is it possible to, let's say you have fragmented data from one sector. Let's say you don't have everything, but you don't want to use the default option because you have some data. Is there a possibility to merge those two?
Yes, absolutely. So, yes, definitely. So, from my understanding, it seems that you have some data for the composition of waste, right? You said you have some studies from, or I think it was Miss
Miss Serlin.
Louise, yeah, Miss Erland, that said that she has that there has been some studies for waste composition from household surveys of waste. So you can use that fraction here. You don't have to use this default, because this is saying here that 49% um, of all solid waste would be considered food waste. Oops. But yes, if you, and this is nappies, paper, cardboard, textile, wood, etc. If you have these values here, then you would be able to put in your own national values.
Mm-hmm. All
Mhm.
right.
So you don't have to use the default. And then, but what you can, the other data that you would need to have is the activity data. You would need to know what is, second, where did the population? Okay. If you have for total waste that was produced, that you have in numbers, or if you have an estimation, you can use these values and put them here. Um, and then from that, you can see what percentage was solid waste disposal. For example, if you have the estimations from the number of trucks, or the volume or the capacity of the trucks that entered the dump site, perhaps you would say 100% of that. So this would be one in this case. This would be 100%. Let's say this unit here, noting here that this unit is in gigagrams. Let's just say, put an easy number, 100 gigagrams. So this is the total, this is in 100%. This is noting that 100% of this waste, municipal waste, went to the solid waste disposal site. So then it shows here in green was where it automatically generates what is the total volume of the total mass of the weight that went to the solid waste disposal. So for the purpose of this exercise, let's use the default values that are available for let's use the default values that are available. Paper and cardboard, textile, wood, inert waste. Okay. And then you can see here that this composition here comes up to 100%, right? So this, if you had, for example, German and colleagues, if you had this data, this composition data you can use from the studies, you can use the fraction of the waste here. You just need to classify what is classified as food waste, garden park, wood, etc. You would just need to um, understand what fraction is considered what, but that would be where you'd put it. Enter save. And then, okay, so all is okay so far. Did that answer your question, German and colleagues?
Yes, yes, you did. But in our case, it's a little, yeah, like I said, I asked previously, it's a little complex. You explained it already. but still we don't have a clear picture of how much waste is produced. Like also what Miss Silent stated, it's just a estimation for lay knowledge, let's say. Um, how is it? Let's say we only have the accurate amount from some companies, some big
Mm-hmm.
companies. Um, let's say we have that amount, but we have some idea, some clue of the households. How can you use that information and try to maybe extrapolate that, something like that? Is that possible with this tool, or just
That's
what you showed?
Yeah, so like filling in the gaps and extrapolation and filling in data gaps is not possible in within this tool. This software will only do what you put in. So if you have from your data, if you have, let's say this 100 gigagrams of waste is just from one facility, but you know that you have at least three other facilities that have that produce solid municipal solid waste. Then in your data collection, then you would need to either ask an expert or ask the facility managers what percentage of the population do you service. This is a way that you can apply expert judgment. It's not the perfect way, um, but it would be good if you ask the experts that work in that area what population that they service or what fraction of national waste would be considered, and then you can make that assumption um, and change these values. The only thing is that you would need to document those assumptions that you made. Um, from the estimations, and that is considering that even the value of the mass of the weight or the quantity of the weight of the sorry of the waste that you're getting might not be 100% true. But if you have an approximation and you state that this is an estimate based on number of trucks and capacity of trucks for the year, etc., then you can make that assumption.
Okay, okay, then we'll use that. Thank you.
Yeah, it will take a little bit of extra work outside of the software to clean up your data, but it's possible. Okay, Miss Louise, you have a question.
Yes, because if I look at the different categories, food waste, garden and park waste, and nappies, etc. For instance, nappies we don't put it separately.
Mm-hmm.
We have an different how do you call that in the different
Sections.
yes yeah sections. So for instance, food waste we have sure green and parkways, yes. But
Mm-hmm.
according to our to the Ministry of Public Works, that is responsible for waste collection. In
Mm-hmm.
fact, garden and parkways they don't collect.
Okay.
What people do, they put a little bit in their bag, but not a lot of bags with parkways. Or
Mm-hmm.
they pay the collectors, look, I have parkways here, can you take it for me? But it is
Okay.
not a normal, how do you say that? A normal
Mandatory.
component.
No.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Pardon? This yes, and then the nappies we have a component we call it rest. This nappies we put in a rest.
Okay.
You see, we have the look a cardboard and paper. Okay, that's okay. Textile, if it is a little bit, we put it with rest.
Okay.
The same with wood. Wood, we don't put so much in our garbage bag. If we
Okay.
have small pieces, we put it. This when we were busy with the NC3, we have to ask a lot of questions on how we put where we put this component, where we put this component, because some components are missing and We some components we put on let's say at rest in the rest component, so it was a little bit confusing.
Mm-hmm.
But in the end, okay, with the help of the organization, we could manage it. But it was really because we had a different uh, um,
Yeah, different
really
Categories.
different
different
sections of
categorization.
yes, yes, mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, so that is that is expected because the way that you collect or you classify your waste nationally is not the same as what the IPCC is asking us, right? So
Mm-hmm.
it's just a matter of where you would just need to then decide where you would put your waste categories and how it would fit there. So food
Mm-hmm.
waste and general food waste, maybe you
Mm-hmm.
have numbers for garden and park. Maybe
Mm-hmm.
garden and park including wood would fall
Yeah,
under one of the two.
yeah,
um, and then you would have your other, right, or your rest
yeah.
that you
Mm-hmm.
mentioned. So it would just it doesn't have to be it doesn't have to be with these categories. The only you would just need to define which of these it fits better under, and the reason
Mm-hmm.
is because there are different emission factors for rate of decomposition for these types of
Mm-hmm.
waste. So perhaps maybe your nappies and your rest, your the rest or your other would fall would have would behave similarly to, for example, oops, can you hear me still?
Yeah, 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 yeah.
I can still hear you. German,
Yes.
thank you.
I thought I had a question. I thought wood waste, including what were the other categories? Oh, you just closed it.
Sorry, there it is.
Paper, cardboard, garden, and park. Yeah, I thought those
Mm-hmm.
waste streams would be categorized on the forestry or AFULU.
Hmm?
Um, if they, if the thing is, if they, say, okay, so it's different. So, like for example, you have the harvested wood products that falls under the forestry. That means that you're accounting for all of your chairs, tables, wooden furniture that was produced, um, that were produced. So they're not being disposed. So that's one fraction. That's one component. That it would mean that you have stored carbon in your furniture. So that falls under the forestry and other land use sector. But in this case, this wood and this harvested wood products that is this is referring to here under waste is those that are have been disposed. So those that are discarded, that are put in the stream with other municipal waste, would then behave differently, would decompose slowly, would be still decompose more slowly than other types of waste, but they would decompose. So that's why it's that portion here is under waste. The section of wood and harvested wood products that's under forestry just means that the chairs and tables that are in your house that have been produced, they haven't been disposed as yet. But when they're broken and they're at the end of their life and then they're disposed, then they will fall under the waste sector. Very good
Mm,
question though.
I see. I
It's
see.
very
Okay.
it's
It's
very
really tricky.
it's very tricky. Honestly, it's very tricky. There are various overlaps between forestry and agriculture and the waste sector, and energy and waste, and a little bit with industry and waste. So, but very good question. That's one of the tricky parts. Uh, But yeah, good question. Okay, so we entered data for an example for 1 year for 1950, and this is considering if you have data for this long. If you don't, if you, I think Suriname has from 2000, right? So it would be from 2000 to 2022. You would enter this data for the waste that you have, the way that you estimate it, and then I would recommend, because you have waste composition studies, that you use your own fraction, your own percentage of your waste here, and then you'll have a much more closer to true value of what your emissions are. So now let me just show you what the emissions are now for waste for the one value that we entered. This is where you would find the values for emissions after we put in all of the activity data. So you would go here to reports, either a summary, or you can go to waste and go to the sector table, and it would show you all of the different gases. So for solid waste and all of the different subcategories. And you can also export to Excel. There's a lot that we didn't go through for this. There's a lot that we didn't go through for the waste sector in the software. But I think this might be another example where I give some a small assignment to empower you. I can give you the data and a small assignment to enter the data into the software, and we can check it on our last session. Colleagues, team, how do you feel about that? Because I think we are just at the end of our time, and I don't want to take you over too much over your time for today's session.
I don't mind that. I'm not sure what the other colleagues think.
Okay, then we have an exercise.
So I will give a short exercise, and it will be based, and I appreciate your your enthusiasm. So what I will do, I will share the exercise for you to do, and this PowerPoint, and it will indicate to you where you're going to be entering data from. I will make a more simple exercise for this case, because we don't have, or I haven't received the national data for the waste sector as yet. So I won't make it too specific, because we're not working with your national data for this particular exercise. But yeah, what I will do, I will share it via email with our colleagues for you to get some practice. But I will be available to all of you to run through any questions that you may have. So just to take us to what we will be doing next for our future sessions. Our next session is on the IPPU sector. And this, let me quickly just show you what I'm looking at. Here it is. In the IPPU sector, so this is on October 28th at the same time. So we'll be working then with the industrial processes and product use sector. It's a very small sector in Suriname. But in any case, we'll get an idea of how to enter this data into the software. And so you're welcome to join this session as well if you'd like to get additional expertise and additional exposure to the other sectors. And then on November 1st, we should be having our last session, which is a summary and a review of the different data that colleagues have collected so far. So with that, I will turn it over to our colleagues from the ministry to close us off, and if there are any last questions or interventions.
Yes, one last question, please.
Sure.
Is it possible to like make graphs or charts, something with the tool? We didn't come to that point until now, I think. So with the data collected or gathered, that we could use it to make graphs in the tool or with the tool. Is that possible also?
Yeah. Unfortunately, this tool does not. Let me share my screen quick, and I can show you what you can see. You can't generate, and let me show you in the energy sector. This is what you can't generate. You can't generate you can't generate graphs, but you can visualize them. So for every sector in the software, every time you enter data, it will show you here what are your emissions by your different gases. So this is the pop-up that shows here. So if you select at the main heading of each category, it will show you if you have emissions in that sector. But unfortunately, you can't create new things. You can't visualize. Technically, you can't even save this. Unfortunately, so this is a limitation of the software. But this software is mainly for the estimation of emissions, and not processing of data or filling in gaps. It doesn't have that capability. But what can be done is that you can export your worksheet data. So you can export your worksheets in Excel form, so that you can create your figures in Excel.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, I think that IPCC needs more, probably needs more funding, more financing to do all of those things. But other countries use different softwares, different programs to do their own emission estimations and visualizations. This one is a free one. It's no nonsense. It helps to put in default values, but it doesn't have all of the bells and whistles, all of the pretty things that we wish we could do from the software. But, good question. So thanks very much. So from the German or anyone else from the team, will you be closing us off, or is it okay to close now?
No, I think everyone knows what we're supposed to do with the tool, and the next steps you just mentioned, the way forward. We will have our closing wrap-up session on the 1st of November. Everyone in the call is welcome to join, and we are doing all this for our BTR, our first BTR. So those are the main points, I think, and next steps. So I think with that, on that note, we can just wrap up. And thank you, Brittany, for the presentation, and everyone else for joining.
One last question, please. The program, the software program, from where we can download it? Huh? The call I can't
Nice.
hear you.
You're muted.
Oh, sorry. Thank you. Thank you, Louise. I put the link again in the chat
Mhm.
for where you
Okay.
can download the IPCC software.
Mhm.
There are two versions. There's a 64-bit and a 32-bit version. It's dependent on um, the specifications of your computer, but generally
Yeah.
for basic working laptops, the
Mhm.
32-bit version should work.
Okay. Thank you. Mhm.
Thank you too, and thank you everyone for joining and your participation and engagement. And now I think we have a better understanding of the waste sector. At least I do for Suriname. So thank you everyone for your participation, and looking forward to seeing you on November 1st.
Yes,
Take
same.
care.
Thank you very much. Have
Thank
a nice
you.
day, everyone.
Okay,
Yes,
bye.
thank
Thank
you.
you.
Same to you.
Bye.
Bye bye.
Bye bye.
Bye.
Say bye.